Afternoon, everybody. I'm not sure what number this is in the series, but it's about fear and love, love and fear, our two primary emotions. So here we go. Well, I'm sure there is an upside to fear. There is, of course. It keeps us from danger. But I can't think of a downside to love. Now, I'm sure everybody watching this has heard of fight or flight behaviour. And when we get into tricky or dangerous situations, we can stand and fight, verbally or physically, or refuse to back down. Or we can take flight. We can run away or just leave. I'd like you to think about a sprinter on the starting blocks in a race. The first position is to squat down, followed by a raising of the body just before the starting pistol is fired. Imagine what it's like waiting for that starting pistol. The adrenaline levels must be off the charts, and the sprinter is in a very high state of anticipation and awareness. And the physical changes will propel the runner away from the blocks as fast as is possible. Now just imagine the starting pistol never fires. And imagine you are the sprinter in that state of fear, anticipation and arousal. How long would it take before the stress of being in that state were to take its toll? Ready, on your marks, go is clearly a positive use of stress. But reflect on this. How many of us are living our lives in anticipation of the silent starting pistol? And if we are not fearful and anxious about the future, how much time do we agonise with regrets about our past? And for those of us who've suffered any kind of trauma, which everybody in fact, it's as if we're permanently burdened by low-level anxiety, whether we pay conscious attention to it or not. Regardless of who we are, we learn to live with it, grin and bear it. After all, it's only for life. Everyone knows, and you may be one of them, resilient people who use traumas, catastrophes, betrayals and disasters to motivate and propel themselves to success and achievement. You all have my admiration and respect, and we all do this to a greater or lesser extent. Of course we do. Life is full of challenges. We all have this potential, if not the actuality. Now, I suppose I've defined a breakdown, or in some cases a breakthrough. The darkest hour is just before dawn. But how much can anyone take? You don't need a medical degree to realise fear has a negative cellular, organic and whole body consequence. False evidence appearing real is a killer. And if you need any more proof of this, you haven't lived through 2020. Many years ago, I read about the effects on the unborn child of women who suffered fear or severe stress during pregnancy. Their children are born with an overdeveloped reptilian, which is fight or flight, brain, at the expense of the frontal lobes, which is the centre of our higher selves and connection to divinity. So, allowing yourself to shrink in the face of fear not only compromises the moment, but has medium and long-term effects and consequences for the rest of your life and for those around you. When are you at your most creative, your most productive and your most resilient? When you're in a state of fear? I'm insulting your intelligence. And so on to love. Okay, well here I am using something when they first came out I thought was the sort of technological equivalent of narcissism, a selfie stick. But it enables me to do videos quick and easily, and certainly outdoors. So
I'm going to do the second part of this love versus fear by just without a script. As you know, the other stuff is I've scripted, but this isn't. Well, we all know about fear, and we know what fear can do. You've just heard a few minutes on that. So love, everybody knows of the power of love, but do they really? The Greeks had 6 names for love. We have 1 in the English language. And we know what most pop songs are about. Don't need to elaborate on that. But what about love for humanity, love for existence, love for God, love for animals, love for your fellow human being, love for everything? Love is a state. It isn't just an act. It's a state of being. It's an action. And I've been very fortunate around about 10 years ago to have discovered a book called The Healing Code. And that works, and the process of the Healing Code is one of the most phenomenally powerful healing mechanisms I've ever come across, and I've studied a few. And it works on a very simple principle, is you ask the client, the person, to access a place of unconditional love. And the key is unconditional, of course, because we all place conditions, I'm no exception, on our relationships with whoever, with whatever. So the unconditional love state is usually acquired through focusing on those who've got kids, perhaps when you're children, when newborn babies, when there were no conditions, or sometimes with people who passed to spirit, or possibly grandparents, or parents, or pets. It doesn't really make any difference. So love is the most powerful healer of all. To quote Ben Johnson, one of the co-authors of the book, the energy frequency of pure love heals anything. Notice his very deliberate expression, pure love. So apart from being a phenomenal healer, it is also, to me, the essence of a conscious relationship. And a conscious relationship is one that you pay your utmost attention to, one that you place the highest value on. And the book I've virtually finished, and which should be published this year, is all about healing conscious relationships, relationships with self, relationships with all the things I mentioned at the beginning. And there's been a lot written about self-love and self-appreciation. And I think that some of it goes off in a cul-de-sac, that if we are self-sufficient, if we love ourselves, we don't need relationships. Well, that's nonsense, of course. But of course we need to appreciate and love ourselves. And this is the absence of narcissism and ego, which is sold to us daily, all the time, through so-called popular culture, which, thank God, is in its death throes. So relationships, healing the planet. There is nothing more powerful than love. It is the force, the energy which powers life. It powers the universe. Love heals, and you all know that it does. So thanks for watching. Look forward to the next time. Namaste. Love you all.